Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the SCU Show. I'm your host, SCU. We are finally back. Episode number 75, another milestone for us here on the show. Glad to be back. It's been over 3 months at this point. Unfortunately, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, or whatever the expression we might want to use. You know, things happen and you just got to you got to prioritize. So that's why I had to put the show on hiatus. Obviously, I was still doing my play-by-play stuff, and now with the Masked Wolves and my ABA basketball team, so I was doing my thing there. We are in a brand new studio. I don't know if you noticed. Probably not, because I've just got a wall behind me. But behind this camera, we have Brandon Estevez. Him and I are in the same room this time. We are not in different rooms, so this is pretty cool. Again, want to thank Brandon Estevez for hosting us, as he always has for the last, the last few episodes anyway. And he'll continue to do so as we head into the NFL offseason. So, big show for us, episode 75. Let's get right to it, and let's talk about the tragedy that we saw on Monday Night Football on January 2nd, because this is the first time I'm talking about it publicly. Damar Hamlin, he was tackling T. Higgins on a play, Bills against the Bengals, Monday Night Football, January 2nd. And as soon as he made the hit, he's stood up, he didn't fall to the ground. He stood up, and a second later, Damar Hamlin fell to the ground, motionless. And once somebody said something about CPR, I think Joe Buck was the one that said it on the broadcast, the whole world it was like what it was in the COVID-19 pandemic game. Everything just shut down. There was only one thing on everybody's mind: is Damar Hamlin okay? And he wasn't. He just wasn't for that first few minutes. Technically speaking, Damar Hamlin died on that field that night. And if it weren't for the Buffalo medical staff resuscitating him and being there, Damar Hamlin might not be with us tonight, or today, or whatever you're watching this. He might not be here with us. Now, it's about almost 3 weeks later. Damar Hamlin has been released from Cincinnati Hospital, went to a Buffalo hospital. Now he's back with his team. Obviously, he's not going to play again this year, but we're so glad that Damar Hamlin is okay. So I just wanted to address that. Shout out to the Cincinnati Hospital, the Buffalo Hospital, the Buffalo training staff, and most importantly, and maybe a little too religious for you, but shout out to the man upstairs, because he had a different plan for Damar Hamlin that night. It wasn't his time, and we're glad that he's still here with us. All right, so again, episode number 75. I'm your host, SCU. Glad to finally be back. Hopefully we'll be back every week as we head into this playoffs, the Super Bowl, all this other stuff. We got a lot going on, a lot of quarterback controversy we can talk about today. But the first thing I want to talk about as we return, nobody else is talking about this. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions. Now, why would we talk about the Lions? What is so great about the Lions? Well, everybody loves that they won their last 7 games they just missed the postseason. They were that close to making the postseason. They beat the Packers. The Rams beat the Seahawks. The Lions would have made the playoffs. And now everybody's talking. We probably should have left this for the offseason because still got a bunch of playoff games, but I wanted to bring this up first. Everybody's talking about the Lions. They're going to be so great in 2023-24. I can't wait. Dan Campbell, all this amazing stuff. And I'm sitting there like, was this team not just 1-7 halfway through the year? Why are we talking about how special the Lions are going to be next year? They're not going to be special. You think Jared Goff, the one thing I'm impressed, and the one reason that the Lions were so good in 2022, Jared Goff didn't throw a pick halfway in the second half of the year. The last 8 games, 0 interceptions for Jared Goff. You think he's going to do that again? No, of course not. I don't know what the Lions did. They obviously did something well last year, but I don't. Like I said with the Rams, after week 1, same old Stafford. Lions. They're still Lions. This team has never won a championship, whether it be before 1970 when the AFL-NFL merger happened, or a Super Bowl. They've never won a championship. So why is everyone? What makes you think that the Lions are going to be good now? I don't see it. I was a big fan of Lions. I like DJ Chark going to Detroit. I love the running back. I think it's Jonathan Swift. Or DeAndre Swift, that's it. Their running back. I love what Detroit has. But I also remember, I just brought this up, they were 1-7 at one point. They had literally the worst statistical defense in NFL history. They were on pace to give up, 508 points or something like that. One of the worst in league history. So Detroit, kudos to you guys. You got 7 straight wins. You just missed out on the playoffs. So the Rams beat the Seahawks. You guys would have gone to San Francisco. You probably would have lost anyway. Shout out to Dan Campbell. Maybe he is doing something well. Maybe he's changing the culture there in Detroit. I don't see it. I don't think it happens. Everyone talk about the Lions are making the playoffs next year. Where's this coming from? Why? I just don't see Detroit making the playoffs in next season. Now, I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying they're going to win one game. They may win 5 games. I'll put that out there. I think that with Detroit wins 5 games next year, Jared Goff goes back to the Jared Goff he once was. And I said this a long time ago when I started doing this show. Either it was during the audio time back in like 2017 or when I started doing the video right before the pandemic hit. Jared Goff went number 1 overall because he threw 6 touchdowns in one game against Air Force. He didn't do it against Bama. He didn't do it against Georgia. They didn't do it against the SEC team or big ACC team or anything like that. Air Force. Jeff Fisher, and I'm a big critic of Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher had him as the 3rd quarterback on the roster when he was drafted in 2016 when they were in St. Louis at the time. I believe they were St. Louis. So, yes, the Lions had a great second half of the year. Wonderful. So glad to see it. And I'm sure many of you are also glad to see them knock Aaron Rodgers out of the playoffs. But I'm here to tell you. Let's get off the hype train, shall we? Detroit is not going to the playoffs in 2023-24 season. It's not happening. They're going to do fine, maybe. But Jared Goff's going to throw picks. He's going to throw picks. It's going to happen. And Detroit might win 5 games. I'll go up to 7. This is not a playoff team next year, and let's cut it out already. Enough. So there's your opening rant. Talk about the Detroit Lions. On SCU Show number 75. I'm your host, SCU, again. A shout out to Brandon Estevez for hosting us once again. Brand new studio here. A nice studio. Very nice. You just got to see the loft out there. Anyway, let's. What else I want to bring this up about the Lions? So we talked about the Jared Goff's not going to throw a pick. And you go look at the rest of the NFC North. Assuming Rodgers comes back next year. Because obviously, everyone's talking about that post-game thing. Where Rodgers said, I have to keep my jersey. Everyone's like, here we go again. This is going to be the 3rd straight offseason with Aaron Rodgers drama. We don't know what he's going to do. Okay, we'll see. Just wait and see what happens. If he comes back, though. You see Christian Watson, what he did in the second half of the year? Everyone's talking about him being the offensive rookie of the year. I don't think he's going to win it because he had a crap first half of the year. Come back strong the second half. Romeo Doubs, he's done well. And you look at Minnesota. Yes, they lost to the G-Men, which everybody picked that except me. Okay, whatever. That's fine. They're going to lose to Philly next week. We'll get to that later. Vikings, that defense is atrocious. I don't know what happened in that game against the Giants, but they're not changing. They're going to be the same team next year. They might win the North again next year. Aaron Rodgers will come back. And even Chicago, who is the worst team, technically speaking, in the NFL because Texans went for 2, beat the Colts, and gave up the first overall pick, so the Bears get the first overall pick. Even Chicago could get better. They're going to build that O-line in the draft. Justin Fields, hopefully he'll come back healthy. He is an amazing quarterback. Everybody can agree with that. Amazing quarterback, despite them losing like 10 in a row to end the year and be the worst team in the league. It's going to be a great NFC North, and everybody thinks that Detroit's going to make the playoffs. No. Again, get off the hype train. Good run, Lions. I love what I saw. I was surprised what I saw. But it's over now. Hope you enjoyed it while it lasted. All right, so now let's get to our next topic. MVP, and this is a big thing. Jalen Hurts, MVP. Yes, the Philadelphia Eagles are the number 1 seed. That's all great, fine, and dandy. But you see what he has, right? Some employees, they need other people to help them in order to be great. I needed that when I worked at Arby's last year in Virginia. I needed help. Couldn't do it by myself. I like to think I would have liked to think I could have done it by myself. You need some guys just need help. Jalen Hurts, he's an MVP candidate because of what he has. Boston Scott's a great running back. A.J. Brown from the Titans has been a huge get for them, and I'm talking gigantical huge. And then obviously you have Devonta Smith. Both, by the way, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith were top 10 in receiving yards in the NFL this year. That's why of course, Jalen Hurts, you got to give him credit for being a running quarterback. Everybody knows I'm a big fan of those. But Jalen Hurts needed all this help to get the Eagles to where they are. And their defense did pretty well as well. Who's that other quarterback who, I'm trying to think of his name. I think you guys know who he is. He lost his top receiver, went to Miami. Oh, that's right, Patrick Mahomes. There is your MVP. There's your MVP right there. He lost Tyreek Hill, the fastest guy in all of football, maybe second fastest guy in the world behind Usain Bolt. He lost him, right? No, that's over. I mean, no, Tyreek Hill, what is Patrick Mahomes going to do? He's just going to make it happen again because he's Patrick Mahomes. I have stats here, by the way, that back that up. No Tyreek Hill, I obviously mentioned that. Over 5,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, 6 more than Joe Burrow or Josh Allen, who tied for second with 35. And that's with no Tyreek Hill. That's with Valdez-Scantling from the Packers. Love that get for the Chiefs. Juju Smith-Schuster, he was looking like he was on the decline for the Chiefs. Travis Kelce, obviously the best tight end in the league, no question about it. He had a big factor in that. But Patrick Mahomes is doing this with if Valdez-Scantling, if Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean these guys were twos on other teams. They were twos. Valdez-Scantling might have been one in Green Bay, but now with Devonta Adams there, he was a 2. So, yes, you give all the credit you want to Jalen Hurts, but Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. I think that's a done deal. Like Patrick Mahomes, I don't know if the Chiefs will go to the Super Bowl for the third time in 4 years now. I don't know. Look what happened last year. They were up. They should have been up 28-3 at halftime against the Bengals, but that's another story for another time. So I don't know if the Chiefs will go back to the Super Bowl. What I do know is Patrick Mahomes is the 2022-2023 NFL MVP. And that is, it's just fact at this point. You can't argue it. Valuable. You got to think of what the word valuable means. It means you are valuable to your team. Yes, Jalen Hurts is valuable to his team. So are Devonta Smith, and so is A.J. Brown. Patrick Mahomes, he's dealing with 2s and 3s. He's the MVP. No question. All right. Good show. Good stuff so far. Got a lot of stuff here. Obviously, the Lions talk and the MVP talk. So we got a lot. Well, coming though. Coming to you here. SCU Show number 75. Milestone Show. Brand new studio. New mic. Look at this. This robot arm. I've always meant like when I lived in my own apartment in 2019. I always wanted to have this type of arm and like do my show in my room and all this other stuff. And now, well, here we are. A lot of dreams come reality here in Massachusetts. And by the way, next week, SCU Show 76 will come out, I believe, on the 1-year anniversary of me moving to Massachusetts. So we'll talk about that a little next week as well. But anyway, back to all this stuff here. All right, so here's a fun topic. The quarterback carousel. This is a fun one. A lot of talk about which quarterback's going where. Derek Carr, he's done. Raiders said goodbye to him. He said goodbye to the Raiders. It's over. Lamar Jackson, he missed like so many games last year. Braves missed the playoffs. That's because they couldn't, they lost their last 6 games by 1 point every single time last year. This year, they just got eliminated by the Bengals because Tyler Huntley tried to jump over the goal line from like 2 yards out. What a mess the Ravens are. They really are a mess. But they're also smart. I like that they haven't picked Lamar Jackson because he's hurt. 2nd year in a row he's hurt. And now the question is where he's going to go. So let's get to that. Let's start with this though. Let's start with Tom Brady. We don't know what Tom Brady's going to do again. Last year he retired. We thought he was done. And then 40 days later he comes back. No, I'm not done yet. All right, another run with the Bucs. They won the division with an 8-9 record. The other 3 teams in the NFC South, 7-10 each one. Carolina, New Orleans, and Atlanta, 7-10. So it's not that impressive. Obviously, the divorce. And I thought about this during the Sunday night game when they hosted Kansas City and they got their A's whooped. He should have just retired. God almighty. You have the TV12 brand. You have the divorce. You're going to Fox. You signed a 10-year deal with Fox. You're going to be calling through the next 3 Super Bowls the Fox hosts. Why would you continue playing? I get it. Passion. You love it, a game. That's fine. But I would have retired. I would have stayed retired. Well, I don't know if he's going to play next year. If he does play next year, it might not be with Tampa. Now there's rumors going around. Vegas, the Raiders. Obviously, we just talked about Derek Carr going away. Tampa might be interested in Vegas. The Raiders may be interested in Brady, and I love it. Because I already got Josh McDaniels there. His offensive coordinator, he won all these Super Bowls with in New England. Devonta Adams. Imagine Brady to Adams. Just imagine that. That's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful if that happens. Josh Jacobs just led the league in rushing this year. Defense, you can spice it up a little bit. A little few pieces that are missing. It's going to be great. I would love to see Brady in Vegas. Not to mention, it's Vegas. It's a good time. If you've ever been to Vegas, it's an amazing time. It's always fun. A lot of stuff to do out there. So Brady to Vegas, love to see it. That's one. On the quarterback carousel, get that. And Lamar Jackson, we talked about him. Miami. Look, I know. Dolphins fans think Tua is the guy. Yeah, he's the guy that keeps getting hurt. He is. Right now he's dealing with a concussion at the time of recording this podcast. Dealing with another concussion, the second of the year, by the way. Possibly even third. I mean, the game against Buffalo, he stood up and fell right back down on his knees. The game against Cincinnati where he got his head slammed to the ground and literally didn't know what was going on. And now again, concussion protocol. I mean, credit to the Dolphins going up against Buffalo, Skylar Thompson, and almost winning that game in Buffalo. I was scared. Because I made a bet with my friends. If the Dolphins won that game, I was going to eat sushi when I go to New York in April. Side note, I don't like sushi. Another story for another time. But anyway, so Tua, the Dolphins need to have that talk with Tua. A lot of people are going to think it's ridiculous to say, but Tua, it might be time to just hang it up, man. It's not worth it. Not worth these guys. I mean, look at Jim McMahon. Not Jim McMahon. The guy, the Bears quarterback from the 80s. I can't think of his name right now. But he's dealing with CTE. A lot of guys are dealing with CTE from back in the day. Guys that recently retired. Big Michael Strahan also talked about he's sort of dealing with some issues as well. So Tua, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So Miami, go get Lamar Jackson. I mean, again, we talk about Brady throwing to Devontae Adams. Imagine Lamar Jackson throwing to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And again, beautiful. It would be spectacular. So make it happen. It just makes so much sense. The Dolphins could pay him. The Ravens aren't going to pay him. Tyler Huntley, he's okay. I mean, he can lead the Ravens to something, especially in a division with the Steelers and the Browns who are both still figuring things out. You got to get past the Bengals, but if you can't, at least you make the playoffs. You can make playoffs with Tyler Huntley. Just go get yourself some more receivers, and you're good to go with Tyler Huntley. Lamar Jackson in Miami, you might win the division at that point, especially the way Josh Allen was playing this year. What a mess. So, Lamar Jackson to the Dolphins, let's make it happen. Well, I'd love to see it happen anyway. Derek Carr. So, here's one. I don't think anybody brought this up. Everyone's talking about Derek Carr can go to the Colts, or he can go to the Jets. He could. Or, he can go to the Falcons. Atlanta, look what they have coming. Like, Calvin Ridley's coming back. He's coming back with a vengeance. Now, he was stupid. He obviously gambled on his own games, got suspended for the whole year. Dumb decision. Shouldn't have done it. But he's coming back. And the Falcons, they need a quarterback. Might not be Desmond Ridder. Go get a veteran. Get another receiver. You got something working there in Atlanta. Especially if Brady leaves. You could win the division. Because who knows? I think Kyle Trask could be the next guy up in Tampa. Kyle Trask is a bust. We already know that. Carolina, dumpster fire. Absolute dumpster fire. Saints, still can't figure out who their quarterback is. It's supposed to be James Winston, and Andy Dalton came in and stole the job from Winston. Dennis Allen's coming back. Is he a great coach? Who knows? Big questions in the NFC South. With Derek Carr to the Falcons and Brady going to Vegas, the Falcons could be in the driver's seat to win the division next year. Just putting that out there. Oh, and obviously another one. Kyle Pitts, also in Atlanta. One of the top tight ends in the league. Very talented tight end. I remember obviously watching him in college, watching him in the NFL. He's done great for himself. So imagine him, Derek Carr, and Calvin Ridley. That's a nice trio down in the ATL. Love to see it. So there's your quarterback carousel. Lamar Jackson to the Dolphins. Tom Brady to the Raiders. Derek Carr to the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, this is all a wait-and-see situation, but that's kind of what I want to see happen. Tom Brady to Devontae Adams. Can you just imagine? It'd be so nice to see. Be very cool. All right, so obviously we missed out on the wild card weekend. If you missed it, living under a rock, the Jaguars, what the hell was that? Chargers, 27-0 deficit. Jaguars come back to win 31-30. The Niners handle the Seahawks with a strong second half. The Bucs Cowboys play tonight, so won't be talking about that one right now. What else we have? Oh, the Bengals beat the Ravens after a 98-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. So that was something else for the Ravens. They came that close. They were close to winning that game. The Ravens were very close to tying that game, heading into overtime with a chance to win it. On the last play, that I don't remember who the receiver was in the end zone, but he came very close to catching that ball. And he just couldn't get it. Unfortunate for Baltimore. But that's what happens when you have a second half like you guys did. So anyway, let's get to the divisional round, the predictions now. So we have the Chiefs going up against Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence threw 4 picks in the first half. He threw 3 in the first quarter in the game against the Chargers. Now you're going against Patrick Mahomes, the MVP of the league, 5,000 yards, 40 touchdowns. No way the Jaguars are winning Kansas City. And if they do, one of the biggest upsets in playoff history right there. Give me the Chiefs to advance to the AFC Championship game for what will be the 5th consecutive season. The Bengals will go to Buffalo this time, a rematch of that game that was canceled on January 2nd because of the Damar Hamlin thing. I mean, I talked about it earlier. What is going on with Josh Allen? And did you see that game against Miami? Dolphins should not have been in that game with Skylar Thompson. Dolphins led with Skylar Thompson and had the football at one point. It was a pathetic performance by the Bills. I don't think they get routed by the Bengals, but the Bengals are going to Buffalo, and we're going to have an AFC Championship game rematch between the Bengals and the Chiefs. On the other side, Eagles and the Giants. I already said it. Giants, they got lucky. I don't know what the hell happened in Minnesota. Kirk Cousins on a 4th and 8 throw a 3-yard pass. That's what happened. That's why the Vikings lost. Bad play calling, bad decision by Kirk Cousins, whatever it is. It's just a bad game by Minnesota. Eagles are much more well-rounded team, and I think they handle the Giants. I'll give it 38-20, something around there. Eagles are going to host the NFC Championship game for the first time in maybe 5 years. And then, obviously, the Niners will host either the Bucs or the Cowboys. Doesn't really matter. Brock Purdy, what a story he is. We'll talk about him in another episode. What a story the Niners are. Nobody thought, first it all started with Trey Lance, and then it went to Jimmy G. We thought, Jimmy G's leading to the promised land. He breaks his foot. Brock Purdy steps in. He's undefeated. He has a playoff win, and he's going to lead the 49ers to Philadelphia for the NFC Championship game. And finally, here on the SCU Show, number 75, host SCU. Glad to be back. So usually, if you've been listening to the show for as long as I've been doing this, I usually do a ranking, like a top 7. The SCU Sizzling 7. Well, there's only 8 teams left, so let's do an SCU Elite 8. And let's start with number 8, Jacksonville. Again, they were down 27-0 against the Chargers. They're not going to have a game like that against Kansas City. I think they're I don't want to say they're the least talented team, but they have the least likely chance of winning a playoff game here in the division round, so they're number 8. Number 7, actually, switch that. Number 7, raise the Giants. Because, again, the Giants, I don't know what happened in Minnesota. So number 7 is Jacksonville, the duel of the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, Zay Jones, Brian Robinson. The running back, I can't think of his name. They have a very talented team there in Jacksonville. They're not going to win in Kansas City, but they are a very talented team. They're number 7. 6, it's either the Bucs or the Cowboys. Whoever wins tonight's game, obviously you'll know by the time the podcast comes out who won that game. Either way, Brady and the Bucs have struggled, obviously. They're 8-9, won the NFC South by the skin of their teeth. Credit to them. They lost to the Panthers by, 21-3 in their first meeting in Charlotte. What the hell was that? That was a disaster. Dallas, everybody knows about Dallas, Everybody always has those criticisms. Dak Prescott tied with the league in interceptions. That's a bad thing for Dak. I still think Dallas goes out, they win the game, and they'll be, let's put the Cowboys at number 6 for right now. Number 5 is Buffalo. Like I said, everybody's talking about the Bills. They're such a talented team. They let Skylar Thompson have a lead at one point. Skylar Thompson was a 7th-round pick. 3rd-string quarterback at one point. He had a lead in Buffalo in the playoffs against the Bills. That run defense was atrocious for the Bills. So they're our number 5. Number 4 is the 49ers. Again, love the 49ers. Deebo Samuel's back. He's still doing his thing. George Kittle, 2nd best tight end in the league behind Travis Kelce. Good stuff for the Niners. But there's just 3 teams better. Let's start with number 3, Cincinnati. I think the Bengals could make another run to the Super Bowl here, depending on what happens against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I love Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase. What a receiver. He's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. I said it when we last did a show. I love Jamar Chase. I love what the Bengals are doing. They just find ways to win, and they do very well at us too. Bengals number 3. Number 2 is the Eagles. They're the best team in the NFC. Might be the most talented team in the NFL because, like I said, when the MVP talk, Mahomes has a bunch of 2s. Eagles have 2 top 10 receiving leaders in the NFL on that team heading into this divisional round next week. So the Eagles are number 2. I do give the Chiefs the number 1 spot in the SCU Elite Eight for this week because they have Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback on the planet, let alone in the league. Best quarterback on the planet. And I think the Chiefs roll the Jaguars, and we're going to have a hell of a matchup when they host the Bengals in the AFC Championship game for the 2nd consecutive season. Whew. And with that, we are done. I want to thank you all for watching, listening. This has been SCU Show number 75. Glad to be back after 3 months off. Still a few things in the works. By the way, announced it back in October. The New England Broadcast Network, which is supposed to launch in February, will now launch in April. So give us a like on Facebook, NEBN. Follow us on Twitter, NEBN14, because I couldn't just have NEBN. I guess somebody else already had it. And we're also on Instagram. It's N_E_B_B_N and another underscore. And yeah, let's go Chiefs. Let's go Bengals, Niners, and Eagles. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, listening. Thank you again to Brandon for producing this podcast, including this cool arm mic. I can't get over that. I really like it. But anyway, we're done. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been episode number 75 of the SCU Show.